Hello my creepy cupcakes, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to do this gnarly cut. Let's get into the video. Starting off fresh face, I'm going in with some Bruised on a Q-tip, and I'm going to be laying down that Bruised all over the areas that the wax is going to be touching. And then I do add a little bit more Bruised just in case the wax may stretch out a little bit further. It's best to just kind of overdo it than underdo it. Once that dries down a little bit, I'm going to be adding some modeling wax on top. This is modeling wax that I made my own from a tutorial I followed through with Powdah. I'm going to share that below. But I rolled that into like a little worm, and then I'm squishing that against my face. I'm pushing the sides of that modeling wax down against my face as well. I want to get that nicely gripped onto that Bruised as pretty much as fast as possible before it starts drying and losing that tackiness. Once I get that pretty much secured to my face, then I'm going to go in with my palette knife and I'm going to start smoothing out the edges to make the edges have a nice seamless finish, because we don't want to see any of those edges there. Just a reminder to take your time on this one. Modeling wax is definitely kind of a harder SFX makeup tool to use. I do love it a lot because it's so much fun to work with, but it can be very time consuming, so just be patient. Now we're gonna get out our handy dandy Vaseline, and I dipped my palette knife into the Vaseline and I'm gonna start carving into the modeling wax. I do this about 3 or 4 times, dipping it into the Vaseline and going back in. Those parts are clipped out, but just definitely take your time with this. Vaseline and modeling wax go hand in hand. It's such a great tool to help smooth down your edges and keep it from sticking to your fingers. So if you're working with modeling wax, you definitely need to have some Vaseline nearby. I wanted to make this cut look really deep and very open, so that's what I'm doing here, is I'm just moving around that palette knife to expose more of that opening. So work with what you've got and try to make it as gnarly as possible. Once you have the cut the way you want it, now it's time to seal it. You can either use fixative, or I'm using liquid latex to seal over that modeling wax. It's going to make it a lot easier for when I go ahead and add any paints on top of it, so it has something kind of to stick to, but just mostly creating a base so that the wax itself does not move. When liquid latex dries, it tends to have a very shiny residue, so I'm going in with some setting powder and I'm just applying that setting powder on top. This is going to help kill that shine because we don't want this to look shiny. That's not going to look very realistic. I'm going on top of all of that with some foundation to try to make sure that it blends in with my skin. So I'm going to be covering my whole face, but mostly focusing on this specific area where the cut is. For the coloring inside the cut, I'm going in with red body paint, and I'm going to be applying that inside of the cut. If you wanted to, you can definitely just start it out a lot darker, but the way that I like to operate is I like to kind of lay down my base, and if I need to go darker, I'll go darker. If I need to go lighter, I'll go lighter. So I'm applying just this bright red body paint now, and then I'm going to be going on top of that with a little bit of black body paint to start darkening up pretty much like the middle of that cut on the inside, so that it looks a lot deeper. Moving to the outside of that cut, I wanted it to look very infected, so I'm using this little like stipple brush and I'm stippling on some alcohol activated paints. I have a little bit of red just on the end of that brush and I'm just stippling it on there. You know, I'm not really looking at any reference images or anything, I just kind of going with whatever I was feeling. So I did move between a dark red and a bright red and a little bit of a yellow to make that look infected. You do not have to use alcohol activated paints. If you only have eyeshadows, you can use eyeshadows. If you just have body paint, then you can just use body paint, and you can just kind of water it down a little bit so it gives that see-through effect. I'm using a fine tooth brush and the alcohol activated paints to start drawing on some veins. I really wanted this to look crazy infected, so these veins are very bright and out there. Yeah. I wanted to kill the intensity of those veins, so I'm going in with my brush from earlier with a little bit of the red alcohol activated paint left on the brush, and I'm just tapping that into my skin. Then I'm also switching over to my brush that I was using with a little bit of foundation on and just tapping that into my skin as well. I felt if somebody had a gnarly cut like this, that their eye would probably be swollen shut, but I figured I would do some bruised eye. I've really never done a bruised eye before, so I'm just looking at a reference image and I'm just applying some red eyeshadow and a purple eyeshadow. Moving on to my favorite portion of this look, and that's adding the blood. So with a paintbrush, I'm applying some stage blood first, and then I'm going to be going in and adding some coagulated blood, which is just like a thick, syrupy blood. You can definitely look up your own YouTube video for like at-home bloods, or you can go to Walmart. Walmart usually has those like big pints of blood really cheap, so you could do that. And I'm using a little stipple sponge and I'm sponging on that blood just to make it look like it's kind of like splashed a little bit everywhere, making it look a little bit more gory. This is the completed look. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I plan to do a lot more gory looks to come, especially for Halloween time. So look out for those. I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.